James. It was said to me that one of those senior players who experienced it most closely, read transcripts every day of what came through, that had the decision been guilty, he would have walked away from football. That's where he'd got himself. Have they got the strength to go through this again?
I think there's a few that probably would have considered doing that, walking away. When you talk to them after the event, a lot of them who did read the transcript and embedded their heads and their minds in it, it does affect you. And I think they do have the strength, but it will be challenging. The speculation will get up again. There'll be articles all the time. People will be questioning them. And there'll be periods where they'll get through it, where they'll play some good football. But there's no doubt there'll also be periods where there'll be low periods. And they're going to have to work through that, or we're going to have to work through that as a football club and a group of players and try to perform, because our supporters really want us to perform. Our supporters have been great. Our players want to play for our supporters and do something for them. But don't underestimate how hard this is going to be on the players.
I've been told, James, even though they won the decision went for them in the AFL tribunal hearing, the players have still been battling with this saga that's gone on for 2 years, to the point where it's affected their way they've been playing football in the last 5 weeks, to the point where they're still having sleepless nights.
Yeah, some of them, it's still affecting them. I think you don't go through something like this for 2.5 years and then suddenly wake up the next day and it's all okay. It's certainly the speculation, the constant media attention has affected a lot of the players. So there's no doubt this does affect people, and it doesn't just go away in 5 weeks. Certainly the feeling around the place lifted when the not guilty verdict was handed down. But players have taken a while to move through and get back into normal life, and I think it felt like we were getting back to normal, and now this comes down. So we've got our work cut out as a group to make sure that we get out in the field every week and play the best of our ability.
When you returned from France, clearly there was some bridge building to be done with people at the club, but more importantly the players. There was a publicised lunch you had with the leadership group, where it got emotional. You got emotional, and it's like steps have been taken to regain that trust. This coming back, does that poke a hole in that trust? Does it drive a wedge again between the coaching staff, the staff still at the club, and the players, or have you passed that point?
Well, I don't think so. I think that I think that the trust is there. Certainly, we've talked about that. We've talked about where the trust is, and certainly the players want to play, and they want to play for us as coaches, and they want to play for our club. So I don't think that the decision that's handed down, or the decision to appeal today, changes that. But every day in a football club is about building trust and making sure that your players do trust you, and we've had our challenges.
How can you? Well, it is largely about the players, but right now your position now as a guillotine placed above it. How difficult is that to coach and for yourself?
Not at all. I mean, I'm not worried about my own position. It's about trying to get these players in the right frame of mind, that they can play in the right frame of mind off the ground, that they feel happy and comfortable, and that they feel like they're cared for and they're in a safe environment. But me coaching yesterday to today hasn't changed one bit. I think personally being through too much to really worry about the guillotine. I mean, every day as a coach at the Essendon Football Club over the last 2.5, 3 years has been. It's been about that.
Yeah, it has. But you were almost sacked a couple of times. The pressure was on you every day. You had the media parked outside of your house. That's all going to return. Are you, Jared asked, have you got the strength? The players got the strength. Have you got the strength? Do you need the strength for the players?
I've certainly got the strength. Yeah, definitely got the strength and the desire to do the job. There's no doubt about that. I can't wait to get back to the club tomorrow and train these guys properly. We haven't had a proper training session all week. We all want to get out on the track, and we've got to a point, and I can only speak for myself, but I feel like the club's got to a point where it doesn't matter what you say on this show, it doesn't matter what you write, it doesn't matter what anyone writes or says. We know what happened. We know the players are innocent. We know they haven't done anything wrong. And we know that the players will get found innocent again. And that's the strength this group has. Yes, we're going to have to deal with speculation, but as a group, what you write in the paper, what someone else writes in the paper, what you say on TV, it really doesn't concern us anymore. It's about how we feel as a group and go out there and play football and deal with things off the ground.
You don't really know what happened though. If you did know, this would have long been over. If you could prove what the players took, you wouldn't be facing charges regarding Thomas and Beta4.
Well, I think that people at the Essendon Football Club believe that they didn't take Thomas and Beta4, and are very confident they Thomson Beta form, and the tribunal has come to that conclusion as well.
No, they didn't. They found that they couldn't place Thymosin Beta 4.
They were found not guilty of taking Thymosin Beta 4.
They actually never considered the question of whether they were given Thymosin Beta 4.
Well, they found guilty of...
No, they weren't. But that's
so
not
you're either guilty or not guilty.
That question never actually got considered. And that question may very well get considered.
Okay, and I think they'll get found not guilty again.
Do you have the moral authority to continue as coach, given you're in a position of authority when this program happened and these players have now had a third season deeply affected by it?
What do you mean by the moral authority?
Do you have the compunction to ask them to make demands of them day after day?
Well, I think they'll decide that. I mean, if they decide that I don't, then they'll tell me. And they've said that I do. They've said to me today they want me to coach them harder and harder than I ever have before. So I believe I have.
Did you consider your position at all today with them? Did you ask them?
No, I don't need to ask them. I've asked them along the way, and I believe that group, if they didn't think that they wanted me to coach, they would tell me.
You're a father, and the anger of the families is steadily disseminating. If your club couldn't tell you what they put into your son, how would you feel about that as a father?
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if they couldn't tell me exactly, but I've been in those meetings where the club has talked to the families about what has happened, and I've been there when the scientists have talked about what possibly could have happened at worst case. And I think everyone is comfortable that at that point, when they talk about what happened at worst case, that it isn't harmful, what was put into the players, what possibly could have been put into the players. And the club's confident that nothing illegal or harmful was put into the players.
Did the players, I've been told that the players, Gil McLachlan, the AFL Chief Executive, visited Essendon last week. Can you tell me the response from the players with Gil?
I think it was a very tense meeting in the end. I think the players were totally convinced with the authentic nature of the way the AFL behaved over the 2-year period. I think that was certainly the feeling. I wasn't in the meeting, but that was certainly the feeling the players gave me when they left.
What kind of questions were they asking the Chief?
Well, I'm only hearing it secondhand, but it's more about why were they the last to hear about things? Why were things leaked to the media? Why was this run in a public forum instead of in a private forum, which would have protected our identity and meant that a lot of the speculation around what happened to us wasn't kept. There wouldn't have been that speculation. I think that's what they were most upset with.
Your long-running feud with the AFL, has that been parked because you were back coaching, or is it ongoing? Or did it get cleared up, or in some way, in a working relationship, when you and Gil McLachlan had a meeting late last year?
I mean, I've got my job to do, which is coach the Essendon Football Club, and I'm doing that to the best of my ability. And I don't really need to have an in-depth relationship with the AFL CEO to do that. I think we've both left it at that.
Does it cruel your ambitions for 2015, do you think?
No, it cruels it. It certainly makes it harder. It's not easier. It doesn't make it easier, put it that way. We have to deal with something that no other football club has to deal with. We have to go out and play football, and the players during the week, again, with speculation, their minds will get distracted, and it makes it it makes it a little bit harder than probably every other club to do what we're doing, but we're committed to doing it, and I think this group has played around this issue for so long and done such a great job of playing around it that we're willing to deal with it.
Just to follow Jared's question about the parents, is the club planning another information night with the parents to fill them in with this latest?
I know Xavier Campbell and Paul and Justin Rodsky at the club have got plans in place of how they're going to talk to the parents. We're over in Western Australia before the game on Friday night. We had dinner with the parents over there before that game, and there's a very good relationship with the parents and the club, and the clubs work very hard.
Is there really? I mean, we listen to you guys, and we try to believe it.
Well, I was at a dinner on Friday night for probably an hour, and it's very good spirits. The parents are in very good spirits. The people at the meeting, the dinner, are in very good spirits from the club, and there was a genuine, affection. There's no doubt the players' parents and the players have been disappointed at what's happened, and they have the right to be disappointed. But the club has worked very hard with the parents to explain what happened. And I think the parents, I can't speak for every one of them, the majority are accepting of that and want to move on and have their sons have a successful career at Essendon.
As a coach, the first thing you've got to do is, right, how am I going to continually motivate these players now? Because it's going to be difficult. Some of them aren't sleeping, some of them are concerned again. You live for so long with us against the world mentality, and you probably dropped that this year and said, right, let's play football. And do you now have to, again, put the ring around the football club and say it's us against them?
A little bit. I think that there's a little bit of that will come into it. I mean, we still have to coach the base of football and coach the game plan, but there will be emotion come into the game because it will be emotional as the year goes on. So, there's a little bit of, there'll be people who are calling for things to happen at the club. There'll be people who are calling for our players to be banned, and that will stir emotions where it is a little bit of us against them.
What about we had Paul Bruce and Nathan Buckley here on Monday night, and we were talking about started off about depression, then we got on to the abuse towards Jack Watts and certain players and how difficult is it to handle. Do you think that over the crowd abuse, the public abuse on the players, was that sort of dissipating? And do you anticipate now that this started again that the public anger might flush itself out again?
I'm not sure what the public reaction will be to our players. I think that I would hope that the players will be very sympathetic. The public will be very sympathetic towards our players. I mean, the players have really no fault of their own in this position, and I would expect that the majority of the public would consider that and wouldn't go any further with that, because I think that the players, just need to be given the chance to go and play and enjoy their careers if possible.
Do you worry at all that the combative approach that was taken with anti-doping authorities has rebounded today, that the World Anti-Doping Authority wasn't prepared to let it go?
Because
of lawsuits and barbs and claims of vindication, and they just went, we won't stand for this, and we will.
Well, I would
test it
hope, Jared,
internationally.
that the World Anti-Doping Association is only after the truth. They're not responding to barbs or not responding to a combative nature. I mean, it was combative from very early on, and the Essendon Football Club wasn't involved in anything combative. I mean, our football club was torn apart by people in the media, by people within authority at organisations who were running the game, and also from ASADA. And there was a response from that was maybe predictable. But I will say that if WADA is doing this because of our combative nature or because they want to get back at us, I would have thought that's very disappointing. I would have thought that they would only be doing it because they want to find out.
Do you think
what prospect do you think they have of finding the truth?
Well, I don't think they're going to find that our players have taken anything illegal, because I truly believe that they haven't.
Do you think, last question from me, do you think if the AFL did not get involved and allowed ASADA to investigate Essendon, that we would be in this position?
I don't know what position we'd be in, but it certainly wouldn't have been the media. My personal belief is it wouldn't have been the media circus that it was in 2013.
Are you at all fearful of the WADA process? This is a long way outside the small league that is the AFL.
Well, I'm not fearful because I don't believe they took anything illegal. There's nothing I have seen, and we've seen everything. We've lived at the club, we were there. There's nothing I've seen that showed any player to have taken anything illegal. And that's just the confidence we have. We've read everything, we've seen everything, and we've lived it. So I'm not fearful of the process. I'm fearful of the time this has taken, that it could be 3.5 years before these players actually get on with their career, and which is such a long amount of time in a person's career. I mean, you have a 10-year career and a third of that's gone. I'm fearful this could go for a lot longer.
I lied. I need one more question. Sorry. If you had one regret, Jim, if you had one regret, what would it be?
I think that's an answer for another day. There's a lot of things that I would have done differently, but I'll leave that one for another day.
Are there any records that can be found to fill the void that was identified by the Anti-Doping Tribunal, who said that if Essendon had kept records the way they should have, that nobody would have been in this position? Are there any records to be found?
Well, I've seen records of players having taken thymomodulin. Now, I don't know, and those records were given to Anne Robson, who gave them to ASADA, and ASADA, I understand they have those records of Essendon players taking thymomodulin. That is all the records I've seen of thymomodulin, thymosin beta-4. There are records of Essendon players taking thymomodulin.
And why does ASADA say they haven't got them?
The Anti-Doping Tribunal said they didn't have them, and they also dismissed that it could have been thymomodulin. It was either TB4 or God knows what.
Well, I've seen a spreadsheet.